Chapter 10. Whispers of Identity. The safe house was no longer an option. Michael and Samira had barely escaped the Nemesis facility, and the knowledge that Alexei had been so close sent a chill through Michael that even the night's crisp air couldn't dispel. They now found themselves in an abandoned warehouse near the city's outskirts, a temporary refuge while they planned their next move. Samira leaned over her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The glow from the screen highlighted the exhaustion etched into her features. "The virus did its job," she said, breaking the silence. "Nemesis's network is destabilized, but it won't last. Carmichael will rally her forces." Michael paced the room, his mind racing. "What about Directive Alpha? Did we get enough?" Samira paused, her brow furrowed. "I've decrypted part of it. Directive Alpha isn't just about control, it's a contingency. Nemesis has a failsafe built into the replicas. If the network collapses, the replicas will go rogue." Michael froze. "Rogue?" She nodded grimly. "Autonomous, unpredictable, and lethal. Carmichael would rather destroy everything than let us win. We have to stop this before it's triggered." The city below was a tapestry of light and shadow as Michael and Samira ascended a high-rise under construction. The Nemesis Command Center, a sleek monolith of glass and steel, stood in the distance, its glowing apex piercing the night sky. This was where it would all end. "We go in, plant the final disruption virus, and disable the failsafe," Samira explained as she loaded the program onto a drive. "Once Directive Alpha is neutralized, Nemesis's control over the replicas will crumble for good." Michael adjusted the strap on his tactical vest. "And if we fail?" Samira didn't look up. "We don't fail." The Nemesis Command Center was a fortress. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, their movements synchronized like clockwork. Michael and Samira slipped through an access tunnel, emerging in a maintenance corridor deep within the building's infrastructure. "Security's heavier than we thought," Samira whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the facility's systems. Michael's jaw tightened. "We'll adapt. Let's keep moving." Navigating the labyrinth of corridors, they avoided detection with precision, their every step a calculated risk. Michael's heart pounded as they reached the server room, its reinforced door glowing faintly under the emergency lights. Samira set to work, hacking the access panel with a deftness that belied the tension in her movements. The door hissed open, revealing a sprawling room filled with rows of servers and a central command console. "This is it," Samira said, plugging her laptop into the console. "I'll upload the virus. Cover me." Michael took position near the entrance, his weapon at the ready. The room's silence was oppressive, broken only by the rhythmic tapping of Samira's keyboard. The sound of approaching footsteps sent a jolt through Michael. He raised his weapon, his breath steady. Alexei entered the room, flanked by two operatives. His gaze locked onto Michael, a smirk curling at the edges of his lips. "You're persistent," Alexei said, his voice carrying a cold amusement. "But you should have stayed away. This ends here." Michael stepped forward, his weapon trained on Alexei. "You don't have to do this. Carmichael's using you. You know that." Alexei's smirk vanished, replaced by an icy resolve. "You're the one who doesn't understand. Nemesis isn't just a system. It's the future, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect it." The room erupted into chaos as gunfire echoed off the walls. Michael moved with precision, engaging Alexei's operatives while keeping an eye on Samira. The progress bar on her laptop crept forward agonizingly slowly, each second feeling like an eternity. Alexei closed the distance between them, his movements swift and calculated. Their clash was brutal, each strike a testament to their shared training and mirrored skills. Michael's breath came in ragged gasps as he blocked a series of blows, his mind racing for an opening. Samira's voice cut through the din. "Almost there." Michael locked eyes with Alexei. "This isn't who you are," he said, his voice strained but firm. "You're more than this." Alexei hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. It was enough. Michael delivered a decisive strike, sending Alexei sprawling to the ground. He turned to Samira as the progress bar on her screen reached 100%. "It's done," she said, unplugging her laptop. "Let's move." Explosions rippled through the facility as Michael and Samira fled, the virus dismantling Nemesis's systems from within. The structure groaned under the strain, alarms blaring as smoke filled the air. They burst onto the rooftop, the city sprawling below them like a living entity. Alexei emerged behind them, his weapon raised. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "Nemesis doesn't die here. It adapts. It evolves." Michael stepped forward, his weapon lowered. "It ends, Alexei. Not just for us, but for you too. Walk away." For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then Alexei lowered his weapon, his expression unreadable. Without another word, he disappeared into the shadows. The helicopter arrived moments later, its blades cutting through the chaos. Michael and Samira climbed aboard, the city's lights fading into the distance as they ascended. The weight of what they had accomplished hung heavy in the air, tempered by the knowledge of what had been lost. "It's over," Samira said softly, her voice tinged with both relief and sorrow. Michael nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. For now. The helicopter touched down on a secluded airstrip miles from the city. Samira disembarked first, stretching her weary limbs as Michael followed. The pilot gave them a terse nod before taking off again, the sound of the blades fading into the night. "So what now?" Michael asked, as they walked toward a waiting vehicle, a dusty SUV parked under the cover of trees. Samira didn't answer immediately. She opened the vehicle's trunk, pulling out a fresh laptop and a folder stuffed with documents. "We regroup. There's still more out there. Directive Alpha is gone, but Nemesis isn't finished." Michael leaned against the SUV, his body heavy with exhaustion. "We've won the battle, but not the war." Samira nodded. "Exactly. But tonight, we rest. Tomorrow, we fight again." Michael glanced back at the horizon, the faintest sliver of dawn breaking through the darkness. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time in weeks, hope felt like a tangible thing. He climbed into the SUV, the weight of their journey still heavy, but their purpose sharper than ever. As the vehicle rumbled to life and they drove into the pre-dawn light, Michael allowed himself a moment of quiet resolve. The shadows they had fought through were receding, but he knew others loomed on the horizon. The world had changed, and so had he, and he wasn't done yet.